and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Yes, we have a Citroen CX 1979 and we have done a good few videos of this in the past, and we've got a good few videos coming up. Some which are going to be quite awkward, some which should hopefully be quite easy. We've got a couple of leaking gaskets underneath, a couple of oil leaks, which one of them looks like it's going into the starter motor, which is actually damaged the starter motor, so we have to replace the starter motor. But the problem is, it looks like we have to take the engine out to take the sump off, which, yes, is going to be a nightmare. But what we're doing today is the starter motor, at least get it going. Now, there has been a new battery put in this a couple of months ago, because the battery was dodgy and he's replaced the battery, but now the starter motor has given up the ghost. But like I said, when we lift it up, you'll see all the oil underneath, and I think the oil had something to do with it. Now, with an old car like this, you can't, well, to be honest, with any car, just because the starter motor isn't working doesn't necessarily mean it is the starter motor. It's 99%, well 95%, let's say, 95% that is the case, but there is still that 5%. Now, with this being an older car, you don't know what the earth cables are like. Has an earth cable broke? As the power going to the starter motor? As the little kick wire broke? There's loads of potential problems that could be. So I've done a quick visual inspection of all the pipes, or all the, just see one here. This is the main battery lead going to the starter motor. I've checked all the earths and stuff. Now, I am going to be doing videos shortly going more in depth as regards testing stuff, so I'm going to leave that to another video. I know it's the starter motor on this because I have done all the checks. Like I said, I will be doing videos on how to check powers and grounds and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to go into that in a lot more detail, but this is not really that type of video. But what we're going to do is we're going to take off the starter motor. Well, I'm going to give it a go. It looks to be not the original starter motor. Looks to be kind of a more of an up-to-date modern one, but won't really know until we get it out. So I've disconnected the battery, and I'm going to be able to see this. Hopefully you will. We have 3 bolts, one here where my finger is, one at the top just under the bracket, and then kind of one down below. So we can get the 2 bolts up top first, leave the bottom bolt, lift it up on the lift, and do the other 2. Right, it's going to be a 17mm, and hopefully they're going to come off kind of easy and they're not going to be a problem. There we go. Not going to be a problem, which is good. But I think there's that much oil down here that all these bolts are well lubricated, so we're not going to have a problem as regards rust. Right, don't know how well it's coming across on camera, but as you can see, we've got a lot of oil all around here and all the way back, so we're leaking oil quite badly. But you got to remember, it is an old car, most probably the original seals, so they're going to go. But unfortunately, this one, the sump, you can't take it down. It looks like you have to take the engine out. But anyway, that's not what we're doing today. This is the last bolt of the starter motor just here, right next to another sphere for the suspension. But, or that may be even the clutch, that one. This is the starter motor here, and as you can see, we've got a lot. We've got the dipstick is in the way. We've got, looks like a bottom sensor, maybe crankshaft sensor is going to be in the way, or, you know, there's a few things that kind of are going to be in our way. I don't know how easy this is going to come out. I'm hoping it's going to be quite easy, and it's not going to be too difficult, but we'll see. First thing is we need to get this last bolt off. We have to be careful we don't back ourselves into a corner. And what I mean by that is if it screws out too much, we're going to wedge the tool between there, and we're going to be in trouble. But we're okay. So there's the 3rd bolt, and you can see the starter motor dropped. Now we're going to have wires and stuff on the back of it, but that's not my concern at the minute. My biggest concern is how am I going to get this out? Will this come out? Oh, it will. That's all I was worried about. Now, it has come out. Oh, that's it. Now, that's what I was kind of worried about. I wasn't sure if it was going to come out. But as you can see, we've got a lot of oil on it. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe the oil has gone into it and maybe done some sort of damage. But we'll know because we're going to send it away and get it back nice and new. Now, we're going to have a kick wire here. So that's just a normal spade connection, as you can see. This is the wire that actually turns everything on essentially from your ignition. So this can give you problems too on any car. So that's always an important wire to check. Just get that out of our way. And then we just have the main wires. It looks like a 12 mil, 13 mil. Quickly get that off. It is 13 mil. The amount of time air tools save you, and even power tools, is fantastic. Right, we've got a spring washer. Let's put that down. This is our main cable coming from the battery, which I was showing. Again, you have to make sure they're all good. Now, I have checked all them, they do look good. You can do a visual check, but then we can also do we can do current tests and stuff, but I'm going to show that in other videos. But anyway, this is our start motor. So we'll get this reconditioned and we'll bang it back in.
Okay, we are back now. I'm not sure what happened, but the sound went on this part. So it was about a week later. What we had to do was get a brand new starter motor. The guy that I get to recondition all my starter motors and alternators couldn't get the parts, so he couldn't do it. So what we did, went to the UK to a Citroen specialist, and they essentially gave us this unit, which is, it's an old casing with all brand new internals, all kind of modern, up-to-date internals fitted into the old casing. What you do need to do is obviously make sure it is right, so you can kind of test fit it, make sure the lugs fit, make sure everything lines up the way it's supposed to. It does look different to the old one, but this was the one that should have been in. We had to give them all different reference numbers and stuff for them to get it. Now, what you do need to do is, as you can see, I'm putting on the main wire here. You need to make sure everything is clean. So get some sandpaper. Make sure that you've got a good clean connection. If you have to, use new nuts and bolts and washers, because they're only a couple of quid, and it will make your life so much easier if you actually do this. What we did find on this particular starter, the 3 bolts where it actually goes into, they should be threaded, and there was no threads in them. Now, it could be that the one we got shouldn't have had the threads in, or it could be, which is what I think, because this is essentially a 35-year-old old casing, and what could have happened sometime in its life is all the bolts got stripped out, whether that was someone that did it accidentally or just whatever. So what they decided to do was to drill all the bolts, all the threads actually out. What we ended up doing, we got brand new nuts and bolts, got stainless steel ones with lock nuts and everything, just because you might as well get brand new ones. They're only a couple of quid, and it's just going to make the difference. You know you're not going to have any problems. The original bolts wasn't long enough to do this new job anyway. So with new nuts and bolts, we had no issues. You can do this with any starter, really, as long as you've got the room to put a nut and bolt in. Make sure you are not going to run into any difficulties in the sense of if you're going to rub something, or if you can't physically get a nut and bolt in. If you can't, then you are kind of in trouble. With an old car, you have lots of room, so you're not really pushed for space, because we've got a lot of room around it. They're designed completely different now. They just can be an absolute nightmare to work on. So that's all we did. New bolts, new nuts, new washers, new blah blah, everything. Straight through, put it on, and we didn't have any issue after that. Along the bolts, they're M8 by 75. You can see that's how much longer they are. And what it means is the actual locking thread of the lock nut is going to go past the threads and actually lock in. Now, this is where there's there's no point trying to cut corners. You know, take pride in your work. I know once I put these on the lock, I'm not going to have a comeback. The customer's not going to complain that, you know, there's something wrong. Especially with the start motor, if that falls out, you could do all sorts of damage, you know, major damage. If it's trying to kick in and it just, well anyway, you could just do serious damage. Just do it properly. If you do it properly, you're not going to have any problems. The car is going to work. If you're doing it for someone else, like a customer, they're not going to come back and complain, because the more comebacks you get, the more of a name you get, and it's very difficult to get away from that. If you've got a good name, that's what you want, rather than a bad name. You know, you don't want to be just kind of chucking things together and hoping for the best. So I'm going to stick these three on now. Right, hopefully you can see that. You can see the new shiny bolt. The other bolt you can't see because it's kind of, well, you have to get it from the top. So I have 3 wires to put on, one main wire and another power wire here, and then the kicker wire. Again, as you can see, I'm not going to be able to show that, but I kind of showed that on taking the old one out anyway, so you're going to get an idea. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to connect these 3 wires, we'll put the car on the deck, see if it starts. Now, I had to cross-reference this starter motor, I had to give them all numbers and all sorts from the car, because there's obviously a few different ones. This is the one they sent me. They said it's right, so we're soon going to find out. And yeah, let's get the customer his car back. Right, I don't know how well you can see this, but these are the wires I've connected on. What I've also done is, I've just gone round and I've cable tied all the wires into place. It wasn't done before, and maybe it didn't need it, but it's just an extra thing that I know that the customer isn't going to come back because there's a wire rubbing somewhere and it won't start, or it's smelling funny, or it's doing something. Because, like I said, take pride in your work. The best recommendation you can get is someone else, a customer of yours, telling someone else, I'll go to him because he's such and such and such. That's the best thing you can get. And like I said, there's no point, the more callbacks you're having, don't get me wrong, you do have callbacks, it's just the way it goes. You can forget something else can happen, and it might not be your fault, you know, everyone's only human at the end of the day. But as long as you do the job to your best of your ability, you will get more people, word of mouth and all that sort of stuff. So, what we're going to do now is connect the battery, see what it sounds like. Now, we've got a bit of a tip for you. The top bolt is like this far away from me. Obviously, I can't get my fingers in, I can't do anything. If I try and put the bolt at the tip of my fingers and put it down, it keeps falling down. So what you need to do is get a long reach spanner, get a bit of insulation tape on. All I've done, as you can see, just stuck it on the back and stuck it over the top. That's all I've done. Put the bolt in, make sure you get the bolt the right way, push it down, press your fingers so it hits the tape, and as you can see, it doesn't fall down. I can now thread this through the engine, and by hand on the other side of the bolt, screw this in, sorted. I can't show you it because there's just no room, but at least if you have an awkward bolt like that, as you can see, it won't come out. Top tip, sorted. Right, so we're all on. What I'm going to do in other videos is I'm going to show you how to do voltage drop tests and stuff like that, because obviously before I said it was the starter motor, I made sure it wasn't the starter motor. Just because a car isn't starting just doesn't mean it's the starter motor. It could be loads of things. So what I will do is I will be doing videos on how to test for voltage drop, how to test the wires, you know, continuity, ohming wires out, whatever the case may be, depending on whatever you're doing. So I will be showing all that in separate videos. I just think it's going to be easier to understand, and it means then when I come to do something, if I say, well, I've done a drop test, you'll be able to watch the other video rather than me going through everything in one video, because otherwise the videos will be too long and too boring. What I've done is I've turned the ignition on, I've pulled the choke right out, and I've got a little kick wire here which I'm going to disconnect from the wire. I'm just going to tap it on the power of the battery. It's the same as me turning the key inside, and we're going to see if it starts. So you ready? Hey! There we go. Sorted. Happy with that? I'm going to turn it off and start again. I need to maybe adjust the choke a little bit, but as you can see, it started. So that's good. A little bit more hassle than we thought with the new bolts and stuff, but that's just one of them things, especially on an old car. You wouldn't really expect to do that on a new car, but on an older car, There you go. That old alternator, it could have been off, I don't know what, but I know this is an original shell with all new casing, so it was slightly different, but it's not the end of the world. What could have also happened is with this casing, maybe someone over 20, 30 years maybe messed up all the threads inside, so they maybe slightly drilled it out more so you can fit nuts and bolts. Because that's another thing, if you've got an old car and the threads are gone in the start motor, providing the bolt sticks out enough, you can just put a nut and bolt in. It's not the end of the world. And I know I might get people say, oh, you put lock nuts on there, they're going to overheat and burn out. They won't. You don't put one on a manifold stuff like that, but there's plenty of air going around this to keep them bolts cool. They will get hot, but not hot enough to melt. So yeah, that's it. That's a fix. I'm happy with that. Get it off the lift. You'll have it for Christmas. And that's it. Sorted. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start it by the key, because I know I'm going to get a few, I bet it doesn't start by the key, you're just doing that. So I'm going to start it by the key just to kind of lay everything to rest and no one can say anything. And yeah, we'll wrap up the video. So there you go, it starts with the key. So, yes, I have to let this kind of run now because it's, you know, if I start it and stop it, I'm going to flood it, and I need to get the plugs to be nice and good for the customer when he comes and collects it. And that's it. So that, you know, hope it helps. Thumbs up, subscribe, all that. A couple of good tips in there, especially one with the long spanner. Believe me, the amount of times you'd use that, you won't believe it, and it's very, very handy to do. And that's it. So look, hope it helps. Thumbs up, subscribe, all the links down below if you want to help us on the GoFundMe project. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram and all that, and go to our website. But most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.